Imagine you're on a treadmill running flawlessly at its absolute maximum speed.
Right, like just completely sprinting.
Exactly. You are hitting all your metrics, your heart rate is in the perfect zone, and, your form is just spectacular.
Sounds exhausting already, honestly.
It is. But as you're sprinting, you suddenly realize something, well, something terrifying. You have completely forgotten how to step off.
Oh, man. Like without breaking your legs?
Yes, you can't step off without breaking your legs. And the machine isn't malfunctioning. The emergency stop button hasn't been removed or anything.
You simply cannot afford the friction of slowing down.
Right. And today, we are looking at why modern society has quietly, almost invisibly, optimized away our ability to stop. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Thanks. Yeah, that feeling you're describing, that treadmill panic, is the central diagnostic of the documents we're analyzing today.
So we're pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources for this one. The core text is a set of structural memos known as GOA-39.
Which stands for Global Operational Architecture, Thesis 39.
Right. And we are also cross-referencing that with an analytical framework called LMOS. That's the layered modalities of society, specifically looking at versions 1.1 and 2.0.
And, I think it's important to set expectations right at the top here, because this could sound pretty dark.
Oh, for sure. So let's be clear. These authors are not writing some doom and gloom narrative, right?
Exactly. There's no manifesto here demanding we, smash the servers and return to the woods.
No off-grid survivalism today.
Right. The authors are prioritizing calm, structural observation over, ideological panic. The mandate of the GOA-39 memos is really just to map the architecture of our current reality.
To give us the vocabulary, basically.
Yeah, the vocabulary, to understand the mechanics of this high-speed world. And doing it without rushing to some simplistic conclusion that that technology is inherently evil or that speed itself is the enemy.
Okay, so to build that vocabulary, the memos ask us to fundamentally redefine what danger actually looks like for a civilization.
Which is a huge shift in how we think.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because when we visualize societal collapse, we almost always picture explicit breakages, right?
Oh, totally. We think of a stock market crashing or a power grid failing or, supply chains just completely halting.
Like a Hollywood disaster movie.
Indeed.
But the GOA-39 thesis argues that this Hollywood version of collapse is a complete misdiagnosis of the threat we actually face.
Yeah, the memos suggest we are looking for the wrong symptoms entirely.
Wait, really? So what are the right symptoms?
Well, the architecture we live within today is actually remarkably functional. It is hyper-connected and relentlessly optimizing itself in real time.
So it's not broken.
No, not at all. The danger identified in these sources is that this architecture has achieved a state of unstoppable synchronization.
Unstoppable synchronization.
Right. It's this condition where the sheer momentum of constant operation masks the structural brittleness underneath.
Oh, I see. So going back to that treadmill analogy, because the motor is humming and the belt is perfectly aligned, the daily wear and tear is entirely hidden from us.
Exactly. The friction is just written off as, is normal operation.
But underneath that smooth surface, we are losing something the sources call the reconnectability buffer.
Yeah, or in the original Japanese phrasing of the text, they call it seisetsu yohaku.
Seisetsu yohaku.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break down how that buffer actually functions mechanically.
Sure. So in any resilient network, whether it's a computer server, a global supply chain, or even just a human community, you require physical and temporal slack.
Like margins, room to breathe.
Exactly. You need margins. The system must have pockets of unorganized space where an element can detach, remain suspended, and this is the critical part, successfully reparticipate in the flow.
Without causing a massive crash.
Right, without causing a catastrophic error.
So you need the space to fall off the treadmill, catch your breath, and then merge back into traffic without causing a 10-car pileup.
That's the perfect way to look at it. But in a hyper-optimized ecosystem, slack is viewed as waste.
It's an inefficiency.
Right. Deep inside the architecture of our current society, we are quietly consuming the margins that were originally meant for suspension and recovery.
Wow. So we've basically optimized away the buffer.
We have. The system moves at such a relentless clip that losing your footing means the gap between you and the system grows exponentially in a matter of hours.
That is terrifying.
It is. The ability to pause, recover, and seamlessly reconnect is being systematically eroded. Why? Because maintaining that ability is deemed too inefficient.
I have to be honest, I'm kind of struggling with this conclusion.
Okay, how so?
Well, since the Industrial Revolution, practically every single technological leap has promised to give us our time back. And historically, it eventually does.
I mean, on paper, yes.
Right, like the tractor replaced manual plowing, the calculator replaced doing manual arithmetic, the internet drastically reduced the time it takes to transmit data.
Right. We adapt.
Yeah, we always adapt and find a new equilibrium. So why is the loss of this buffer inherently different than the friction we felt during previous leaps in efficiency?
It's a great question. The distinction lies in what the technology is actually processing.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, previous leaps mechanized physical labor or mathematical calculation, but the primary engine of our current acceleration, which is artificial intelligence, is mechanizing the generation of meaning.
The generation of meaning. All
Right. The GOA-39 authors classify AI not merely as a productivity tool, but structurally, they call it an amplifier of synchronization pressure.
Synchronization pressure. I would push on that a bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Shouldn't an AI summarizing a 40-page report into 3 bullet points give me more of my buffer back?
You would think so.
Right. I mean, I'm outsourcing the heavy lifting of reading. That should conceptually buy me the time to step off the treadmill.
It definitely seems like it should. But the LMOS version 2.0 framework introduces a concept that explains why it actually doesn't.
Okay, lay it on me.
They highlight the mechanical difference between genuine understanding and what they term fast fixation.
Fast fixation.
Right. The issue is a mismatch in processing rates. AI synthesizes, meaning exponentially faster than human chewing speed.
Wait, chewing speed. That is a brilliant way to describe it.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the biological cognitive phase of thought. Like the sheer time it takes for a human brain to actually digest a premise, test it against lived experience, and formulate a real perspective.
Exactly. And when an AI delivers a polished conclusion before you've had the time to chew on the underlying variables, it completely bypasses your internal incubation phase.
Oh, wow. So you don't even get the chance to think it through yourself.
Right. The text refers to this phenomenon as the closure gradient.
The closure gradient.
Yeah, mechanically it creates this intense gravitational pull toward accepting a fixed, pre-packaged worldview because the system demands your immediate response.
Oh, I see. You are presented with a neat summary, and the synchronization pressure dictates that you simply click accept and move on to the next task.
Exactly. You're not actually understanding the messy reality of the topic. You are just syncing your output with the machine's output so you don't fall behind.
Man, that hits close to home. The space to hesitate, to reread a paragraph or just to let your mind wander and find a novel connection, that cognitive wandering is the slack we just talked about.
Yes. And the closure gradient paves right over it.
So we're essentially trading cognitive depth for operational speed.
That's exactly it. The AI era isn't just defined by an explosion of available data. It is defined by this unrelenting pressure to remain synchronized with a system that generates meaning way faster than you can biologically process it.
That is so wild. And if we are bypassing our own cognitive processing just to keep up, it makes total sense that our external environments, like our markets, are doing the exact same thing to our physical time.
Oh, absolutely. The sources suggest this constant synchronization pressure is fundamentally altering how global markets assign value to time itself.
Right, the GOA-39 memo tracks this profound shift in market behavior. Like, historically, markets optimize the production and distribution of physical goods.
Sure.
But today, the market has realized that time, specifically unstructured time, is a highly exploitable asset.
You really see this in the modern friction of waiting.
Yes. We have developed this visceral intolerance for delay. I mean, a package taking 3 days feels like a complete failure of logistics now.
Or a text message left unread for an hour triggers massive anxiety.
Exactly. But the authors frame waiting not as a flaw in the system, but as a historically ambient, completely free resource.
Right, waiting time, suspended judgment, the slow retrieval of information. These used to be the default fabric of reality.
They were just how life worked.
Yeah, they were the natural recovery margins of human life. But in a high-speed operational system, any unallocated margin is targeted for colonization.
Colonization? Wow.
Yeah, the market mechanism works by identifying that ambient blank space, packaging it, and selling it back to us as premium service.
So we realize the empty space on our calendar has financial value, so we just auction it off to the highest bidder.
Exactly. What used to be the default state of existence, the margin to just pause and disconnect, is now a scarce asset.
That is incredibly bleak.
Well, the text argues that modern markets are no longer simply pricing the speed of delivery. They are actively pricing the possibility of returning.
The possibility of returning.
Right. If you want the luxury of stepping away from the synchronization pressure and reconnecting on your own terms, you basically must pay a premium for the structural support required to make that possible.
Okay, so if time margins are being aggressively financialized and, optimized away, I really have to ask what we are materially losing in our day-to-day lives here.
It's a lot, actually.
Because to an algorithm, a perfectly lean schedule looks like peak performance. But the deep dive here reveals this massive contradiction.
Yeah, it does.
The sources argue that reconnectability does not correlate with efficiency, like at all. In fact, a perfectly optimized system is incredibly fragile.
We operate under this assumption that a highly efficient system is inherently robust. But the GOA memos completely dismantle that idea.
How so?
Well, an ecosystem stripped of all its slack possesses remarkable short-term output. It looks great on paper. But the moment a disruption occurs, like a localized failure or a sudden break in the chain, it completely lacks the elasticity to bounce back.
So it just breaks.
Exactly. The system shatters instead of bending.
The text actually provides some excellent granular examples of what this elasticity looks like in practice, which I found super helpful.
Oh, yeah. The examples are great.
They highlight things like casual chit-chat, intermediary middlemen, inefficient regional travel routes, and what they call half-purpose contact.
Half-purpose contact. I love that term.
Yeah, like running into a neighbor and talking about nothing in particular for 10 minutes.
Right.
Through a purely economic lens, those interactions are massive wastes of caloric and financial energy.
To the algorithm, they are inefficiencies that just need to be eliminated.
Right.
But to a sociologist, they are the structural safety nets of a civilization. They are the informal, low-stakes networks that actually hold the architecture together.
So they aren't waste at all.
Not at all. If you remove all the middlemen and streamline every communication into a direct, high-priority channel, the system hums perfectly until one node fails.
And then what?
When that break happens, there is no informal human network, no redundant pathway to route around the damage and patch the system. It just fails entirely.
Man. And the sources bring in a really compelling real-world observation regarding Japan to illustrate this point.
Yes, this is one of the most fascinating parts of the memo.
Globally, Japanese corporate culture is frequently criticized by Western analysts for being just agonizingly slow.
Oh, definitely.
There's this deep reliance on reading the air, or kuki wo yomu, as they say,
Right.
which basically requires sensing the unspoken context and mood of a room before proceeding with anything.
And to a hyper-optimized, Silicon Valley startup, that kind of ambiguity looks like a fatal flaw.
Exactly. But the structural analysis in the GOA memo flips that critique entirely on its head.
It does. It says those low-speed layers, the reliance on silence, the suspension of immediate consensus, the local informal adjustments required by reading the air, these mechanics actually force a system to move at a human pace.
Right. Because decisions require immense informal consensus building. The implementation of new high-speed technology is naturally throttled.
It acts as a friction brake.
A friction brake.
Yeah, if an AI system hallucinates a critical error or a high-speed algorithm miscalculates, the human layer of ambiguous, slow consensus is still structurally intact to catch the failure before it cascades into a systemic crash.
Wow. So the inefficiency is literally the shock absorber.
Exactly. Japan has inadvertently preserved a layer of social infrastructure that allows for phase elasticity.
But the memos offer a pretty stark warning on this front, don't they?
They do, yeah. Because even this robust cultural buffer is rapidly dissolving.
Right, due to things like severe labor shortages, aggressive corporate cost-cutting, and just the universal imposition of strict quantitative KPIs.
It's eroding those low-speed layers. The mandate to synchronize with the global speed is just relentless, even in systems historically resistant to it.
Okay, so if this optimization is erasing the shock absorbers in our personal lives and our cultural practices, I have to imagine it's doing the exact same thing to our macroeconomy and global infrastructure.
Without a doubt.
The authors suggest that the very metrics we use to evaluate the success of human civilization actually have to change.
Yeah, historically, we have measured civilizational progress through brute force output.
Like gross domestic product.
GDP, raw military tonnage, computational operations per second. The dominant question has always been, how fast and how forcefully can this society move?
But the architecture of the AI era demands a totally different variable.
It really does. The metric of survival is no longer about speed, but about resilience.
Resilience.
Right. The new defining question is, how well can a society return?
How well can a society return? The LMOS memos introduced terms to quantify this resilience, most notably phase liquidity and stop tolerance.
Phase liquidity, yeah, that describes the mechanical ability of a society to smoothly transition between states.
Like going from active synchronization to suspended disconnection and then back to active participation.
Exactly, and doing all of that without the structure fracturing. A civilization with high phase liquidity can absorb a massive shock, allow its components to disconnect and recover, and then seamlessly reintegrate them.
That ties directly into the NIOS framework detailed in the LMOS documents.
Mhm.
I found this model incredibly helpful for visualizing why we feel so much just ambient anxiety lately.
It's a great model. So NIOS, the acronym stands for Narrative, Intention, and Operational Systems.
Right. And the narrative layer consists of the stories and public opinions a society tells itself.
While intention represents our deep biological human values and morals.
And the operational systems are the actual algorithms, the high-frequency markets, and the logistical networks running the physical world.
Right, the stuff doing the actual computing and moving.
Yeah.
And diagnosing our current structural stress requires looking at the varying speeds of those three layers.
Yeah, the friction, or what the authors term shear, occurs because these layers are completely decoupled in their velocity.
Completely decoupled.
Right. Our operational systems, driven by AI and algorithmic trading, they operate at the speed of light.
Basically instantaneous.
But our intention layer, our capacity to process morality, empathy, and meaning that remains bound to our biological chewing speed.
Right. The OS is miles down the track, while our biological capacity to care is just left in the dust.
Left in the dust.
Yeah.
And that mechanical shear is what generates the profound feeling of lost reconnectability.
Exactly. But the LMOS framework actually addresses how to counteract this shear, and honestly, it points directly to the format of the audio medium we are utilizing right now.
Wait, really? Like doing this deep dive?
Yeah, the text outlines the necessity of an audio phase layer.
An audio phase layer.
Right. Engaging in a long-form conversational analysis isn't merely about transmitting data from my notes into your ears as quickly as possible.
Well, yeah, if that were the goal, we would just feed the GOA-39 memos into a text-to-speech generator, play it at 3x speed, and be done in 4 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The deliberate pacing, the allowance for breathing room, and the conversational exploration of uncertainty, it all functions as a tool for cognitive cooling.
Cognitive cooling, I like that.
Yeah, this audio space structurally rebels against the synchronization pressure we've been diagnosing. It preserves breath density.
Because by engaging with ideas slowly, without forcing an immediate binary conclusion, we are actively maintaining an open cognitive loop.
You got it. We are practicing reconnectability simply by participating in this pacing.
That is so cool. So the ultimate utility of the LMOS framework is to provide an operating system for observation that does not accelerate the panic.
Right. It allows you to observe the shear without being crushed by it.
Right. Okay, let's pull the threads together on this deep dive. The core observation from our sources is a profound reframing of modern fragility.
Reframing it completely.
We are not staring down the barrel of a sudden explosive collapse. We are witnessing the quiet, systematic consumption of our reconnectability.
Because the relentless speed of AI, financialized time markets, and perfectly optimized logistics are just paving over the necessary inefficiencies that allow humans to pause, heal, and return.
So for those listening, the takeaway is not a sense of defeat against the unstoppable machine, right?
No, not at all. The power of these frameworks is visibility.
Visibility.
Yeah. Once you can structurally identify the closure gradient pushing you to prematurely accept an AI summary, or, you recognize that your waiting time has been commodified, you gain the agency to protect your own margins.
So you can consciously defend the low-speed layers in your relationships and your work.
Exactly. Understanding that they are not wastes of time, they are the vital shock absorbers keeping your personal architecture intact.
I love that. Well, we want to honor the mandate of the GOA-39 authors and refuse the temptation to tie this all up with a neat, highly optimized bow.
Yeah, we aren't going to give you a 3-step life hack for taking better vacations here.
Definitely not. Instead, we want to leave the cognitive loop open. Because if time margins are becoming a luxury asset priced by the market, it begs a really fascinating question about the future of class divides.
Oh, absolutely.
As hyper-availability becomes the baseline requirement for participation in the economy, will the ultimate status symbol of the next decade cease to be a private jet or a sprawling mansion?
That's a great question.
Will the defining mark of true wealth simply be the visible, unapologetic ability to be completely unreachable? Take the time to chew on that.